Good day everyone, my name is Nori Ivanov from HRDM 3D. With my groupmates, we are here to discuss to you the developed, emerging, and underdeveloped countries. A developed countries or industrialized countries has a mature and sophisticated economy, usually measured by gross domestic product or GDP. Developed countries have advanced technological infrastructure and have a diverse industrial and service sectors. Examples are Japan, Switzerland, United Arab Emirates, and a lot more. A developing country, also called as less developed country or emerging market, has a lower gross domestic product than developed countries with a less mature and sophisticated economy. Those countries whose standards of living, income, economic, and industrial development remain more or less below average. Examples of emerging markets are China, Philippines, and Maldives. An underdeveloped country is a country characterized by widespread of chronic poverty and less economic development than other nations. Examples of these are Niger, African Republic, and Madagascar.
Hey everyone, I'm Marinel Edimeterio and I am here to present to you the GDP or Gross Domestic Product and PPP or the Power Purchasing Parity of the Japan. This graph shows the GDP of Japan from 2000 to 2020. So from the year 2000, the GDP of Japan is 3.41 trillion. And from the current year 2020, the GDP of Japan is 5.2. The power purchasing parity based on GDP of Japan in year 2000 is 3,570.37 billion international dollars, and it increased 2.15% rate to 5,313.02 international dollar from the year of 2003.
Good day everyone, I'm Trisha Nicole Kalangian and I'm here to discuss the HDI and GDI of Japan. Between 1990 and 2019, Japan's HDI value increased from 0.818 to 0.919, an increase of 12.3%. Table A reviews Japan's progress in each of HDI indicators between 1990 and 2019. Japan's life expectancy at birth increased by 5.6 years, means of schooling increased by 3.2 years, and expected years of schooling increased by 1.9 years. The next is GDI. The 2019 female HDI value for Japan is 0.906 with contrast with 0.927 for males, resulting in a GDI value of 0.978, placing it into Group 1.
Japan Human Poverty Index. The Human Poverty Index is a composite index of poverty that focuses on deprivation in human lives. Aim at measuring poverty as a failure in capabilities in multiple dimensions, in contrast to the conventional headcount measured focus on low incomes. Japan is now at rank 19 with 0.919. Gender empowerment in Japan. What does gender empowerment measure? GEM is a measure of inequalities between men's and women's opportunities in a country. It combines inequalities in three areas: politically, participation and decision-making, economic participation, and power over economic resources.
Good day everyone, I'm here to discuss my thought about China. Yes, China is the one biggest emerging economy. It stands points to become an even more dominant international player on the global stage. And also, China has the world's second largest economy when measured by nominal GDP or gross domestic product, and the world's largest emerging economy since 2014 until now. GDP, gross domestic product, and PPP or purchasing power product. And this is also GDP or gross domestic product in China. China's gross domestic product or GDP was estimated to be around $17.46 trillion in 2021. China ranked first and second in the world GDP rankings that year, ahead of the other BRIC countries of India, Russia, and Brazil. China's per capita GDP is expected to reach $6,035,509 in 2020. And also PPP. PPP or Power Purchasing Parity. In China, in 2020, China's purchasing power parity was 4.2 LCU per international dollar in 2020. China's purchasing power parity increased at an annual rate of 2.33% from 2.7 LCU per international dollar in 2001 to 4.2 LCU per international dollar in 2020.
Human Development Index. China's HDI value for 2019 is 0.61, which put the country in the high human development category, positioning at 85 out of 189 countries and territories. Between 1990 and 2019, China's life expectancy at birth increased by 7.8 years, meaning years of schooling increased by 3.2 years, and expected years of schooling increased by 5.2 years. China's GNI per capita increased by about 993.4% between 1990 and 2019. Gender Development Index. China's Gender Development Index is calculated for 167 countries. The 2019 female HDI value for China is 0.744 in contrast with 0.777 for males, resulting in a GDI value of 0.957, place it into the group 2 in comparison. GDI values for Indonesia and Vietnam are 0.940 and 0.997 respectively.
Gender empowerment measure in China. China is a developing country with a population of 1.4 billion as of 2022. Women account for about half of its number. Therefore, the promotion of gender equality and the overall development of women is not only of great significance for China's gender equality development, it also has a special influence on the efforts for the advancement of mankind. China ranks as 106th among 153 countries in the World Economic Forum's annual ranking on global gender equality last year 2021. It was the 11th decline in a row, mainly because of slow improvement in its male-dominated political landscape. Human Poverty Index in China. China, the world's largest developing country with over 1.37 billion population in 2015 and had a poverty line of 5.7% according to the CCP or the Chinese Communist Party. According to CCP, their goal is to eradicate the poverty in their country. And in 2020, according to the World Bank measure, it has achieved a complete eradication of extreme poverty, raising more than 770 million poor people from poverty since its reform and opening up in late 1970s. As workers continue to migrate from rural to urban areas and move away from agriculture and into manufacturing and services, sectors for which growth have been stronger. The bottom 40% of the population have been able to contribute to the broad-based economic growth process.
Gender Empowerment Measure or GEM is a measure of inequalities between men's and women's opportunities in a country. It combines inequalities in 4 areas. Number 1 is economic participation and opportunity. This sub-index contains 3 concepts: the participation gap, the remuneration gap, and the advancement gap. Number 2 is educational attainment. This sub-index captures the gap between women's and men's current access to education through ratio of women and men in primary, secondary, and tertiary level education. Number 3, health and survival. This sub-index provides an overview of the differences between women's and men's health through the use of 2 indicators. The first is the sex ratio at birth, which aims specifically to capture the phenomenon of missing women, the prevalent in many countries with a strong son preference. We use the gap between women's and men's healthy life expectancy. Number 4 is political empowerment. This sub-index measures the gap between men and women at the highest level of political decision, making through the ratio of women to men in ministerial positions and the ratio of women to men in parliamentary positions. Gender inequality remains a major barrier to human development. Girls and women have made major strides since 1990, but they have not yet gained gender equity. The disadvantage facing women and girls are a major source of inequality. All too often, women and girls are discriminated against in health, education, political representation, labor market, and etc., with negative consequence for development of their capabilities and their freedom of choice. Human Poverty Index. The Human Poverty Index, or HPI, is a composite index of poverty that focuses on deprivations in human lives, aimed at measuring poverty as a failure in capabilities in multiple dimensions. In contrast to the conventional headcount, measure focus on low incomes. Step 1. Convert to ratios. Initially, all data is converted to female-to-male ratios. For example, a country with 20% of women in ministerial positions is assigned a ratio of 20 women to 80 men, thus a value of 0.25. This is to ensure that the index is capturing gaps between women and men's attainment level rather than the levels themselves. Step 2. Data truncation at equality benchmark. The ratios obtained above are truncated at the equality benchmark. For all indicators except the two health indicators, this equality benchmark is considered to be 1, meaning equal numbers of women and men. Step 3. Calculation of sub-index scores. Each of the 4 sub-indexes is computed as the weighted average of the underlying individual indicators. Averaging the different indicators would implicitly give more weight to the measure that exhibits the largest variability or standard deviation. Step 4. Calculation of final scores. For all sub-indexes, the highest possible score is 1, gender parity, and the lowest possible score is 0, in parity, thus binding the scores between inequality. Based on my research, according to the World Bank, 75% of people in Madagascar are estimated to be living on less than $1.90 per day as of 2019. This number has decreased since the last official statistic in 2012, when 77.6% were living in poverty in Madagascar. Still, this remains one of the highest poverty rates in the world.
The Human Development Index for Madagascar, published by the United Nations, is a composite measure including life expectancy, educational attainment, and income level. It aims to measure not only incomes but life quality as well. The Human Development Index, or the HDI, measures 3 basic dimensions of human development. First is the long and healthy life, second is knowledge, and the third is a decent standard of living. 4 indicators are used to calculate the index. Life expectancy at birth, mean years of schooling, expected years of schooling, and gross national income per capita. Data for Madagascar from 2000 to 2020, the average value for Madagascar during that period was 0.496 points, with a minimum of 0.456 points in 2000 and a maximum of 0.528 points in 2020. The latest value from 2020 is 0.528 points. For comparison, the world average in 2020 based on the 185 countries is 0.724 points. The GDI measures gender gaps in human development achievements by accounting for disparities between women and men in 3 basic dimensions of women development: health, knowledge, and living standards. Using the same component indicators as in the HDI, the GDI is the ratio of the HDIs calculated separately for females and males. Using the same methodology as in the HDI, it is a direct measure of gender gap showing the female HDI as a percentage of the male HDI. Madagascar has one of the highest rates of sexual violence in the world. A third of women aged 15 to 49 have experienced at least one form of gender-based violence. In addition, almost 4 in 10 women marry before the age of 18. In terms of work, men earn 37% more than women. Women are also more affected by unemployment than men. They are 20% more likely to be unemployed than men. But things are gradually changing. Women's empowerment has recently become a priority for Madagascar, with the important support of the First Lady, who strongly pushed for the adoption of a gender-based violence law in the country. It is the first time that such a law has existed in the country to protect women and children against sexual, social, and economic violence. If Madagascar can keep taking steps in the right direction, the country can build the future that its people deserve. Gender is an important consideration in development. It is a way of looking at how social norms and power structures impact on the lives and opportunity available to different groups of men and women.